Sante Ray starts.
Sante Ray comes in. Now we heard some activity. I don't know how far away we were in D1,
Mm-hmm.
but we heard jets in the middle of the night, and it sounded like some explosions. We're not sure, so you quote me on that. The next day, they all showed up and had their rank on. Prior to that, we were in the liberated zone of South Vietnam. And you see Russian MiGs MiGs flying over when they had the doors open to allow some sunlight into your cell block. And you see these MiGs flying over, it's like, yeah, okay, sure, you're flying in South Vietnam? I don't think so. And they hauled our ass out of there the next morning. We were packed up, gone, and ended up in Plantation.
Mm-hmm.
We got there pretty emaciated. Oh, one other thing. The physical abuse slowed down when Ho Chi Minh died. It seems everything changed when he died. Now, I don't know if this is correct or not, but we were turned over to military control from civilian control.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying things were rosy, but things are a little better than what they were before,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the abuse and the solitary and all the other good stuff. We moved into Plantation, and that camp commander was rather pissed, from what we understand, that we were pretty emaciated. So they had a fattening program where we got a little bit more to eat. And we got potato soup now for a while
Mm-hmm.
from the pumpkin soup,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't eat pumpkins. Pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread, pumpkin. I carve them up for jack-o'-lanterns, and
You don't eat
that's my revenge.
Okay.
We went to Vietnam last year, and the girlfriend turns around and ordered one of the national favorites, pumpkin soup. And I watched her eat it. She said, "Boy, this is really good." I said, "Yeah, but that's not what the hell we had. We had big chunks with this outside shell and everything else on it, seeds, just water, throw some salt in there, and there you go." So we got to Plantation. We were there for, see, the Sante Ray, what, was in 71?
I'm not sure.
I think it was 71, I'm not sure. You can look it up.
Okay.
You can Google it. And we were there until December of 72.
Okay.
And that's when we realized that Nixon ruined their Christmas.
Yeah, he did.
They thought for sure that we would be going home. And that's when we noticed a difference, a big difference in the chow. We saw mail bags come in from Moscow, stuff that was being shipped to us through the Red Cross, we never got. And we used to see the camp commander with a great big metal can that says Schraff's Chocolates. Take the lid off, and he'd be eating chocolates and putting the lid back on.
He was keeping your mail, your food packages.
Yeah, we weren't getting them.
Got it.
And we noticed the guards had Tupperware.
Got it. Yeah. So you spent most of the time at Plantation because December 72, you were just at the Hanoi Hilton a short period of time.
Yeah, D1, Plantation, and then the Hilton. But the Plantation was close to the rail yards,
Okay.
and they had separated us again, and then rearranged us again. especially anybody that was new that came into the camp. They definitely didn't want us to find out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we developed a communication system called the Shit Can Express. Now, pilots talking about the tap code. Took too long. Sit there and tap, 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 tap. Okay, now we go to the next series of letters. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, let me see. That was EFG.
Yeah.
We took our blankets
Yeah.
and made a great big donut,
Okay.
put it up against the wall, and spoke like this.
Oh.
And it sounded just like casual talking. Talk to the next cell block.
Got it. That's good. That's good.
But that's enlisted swine.
It's clever.
But Kushner ended up coming in with some of the guys. And
Who's Kushner?
remember Valerie Kushner,
No,
campaigned for McGovern?
I forgot.
Very outspoken woman.
Okay.
Dr. Kushner was a flight surgeon, Army flight surgeon.
Okay.
I don't remember if they were shot down or they crashed, whatever, but he was held. He's a retired ophthalmologist in Florida,
Okay.
and he attained the rank of full colonel.
Okay.
But they treated him pretty well because of his wife, and they were hoping that McGovern would get elected president.
Mm. Sure.
And McGovern made the comment that if he had to go on his hands and knees to beg for us, and that's when we all decided, and this is per man, fuck him, we won't leave. Simple as that. So they built a volleyball court. They built a little thatched hut in the middle of plantation, and they had a library, books that were donated, that were being shipped, and we never got them. None of us got a chance to any of the books. It was all for a picture show, propaganda.
Got it.
Then the bombing started. Now Chenoweth,
We're talking about December '72 now? Okay.
Chenoweth, Riati, King, and I can't remember, Kavanaugh. I can't remember the rest of them. Chenoweth was a crew chief on a Huey. Big aircraft enthusiast. He built mock-ups of F-4s, F-105s, I mean big ones. He made them for the guards to use to dry fire, practicing aircraft identification.
Okay.
See, these individuals were the ones we called the maggots. Somebody called them the ducks. We tried to have them court-martialed, but it got kicked out. And the next one would bring charges, and that got kicked out. And then somebody else would bring charges, and it would get kicked out. So eventually, the word came down, well, they suffered enough. They gave them honorable discharges, barred them from re-enlisting, and sent them home.
At least they gave them a bar to re-enlisting.
Well, the other problem too is there was a lot of officers that cooperated, and they didn't want the officer corps to be tainted.
To be tainted by retaining them, or by
No,
tainting them?
they're officers and a gentleman. They don't do anything wrong.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's only the enlisted people. We're the bad ones.
Got it.
And some of these pilots still think the same damn thing. That we were all a bunch of turncoat rats. So if any of them see this, fuck you. Twice. So things got kind of terse. We thought we'd be home for Christmas. That was the rumor.
Right.
They thought we'd be home by Christmas. But then the Vietnamese complained that we did something wrong in the South and decided, screw you people. We're not going to do anything. And that's when Henry Kissinger, because I've been to a couple of dinners when Kissinger was the speaker, and he looked over at Wen Tibing and the other people from their so-called delegation and told them, Nixon's crazy. You don't know what he's going to do. And just before Christmas, the B-52s came in, because prior to that, Kissinger had spoken with Mao and the rest of the hierarchy in China.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said, this is
They
not
didn't believe it.
this is not Korea. We don't like the Vietnamese. If you want to invade the North, we will not stop you. So we bombed the shit out of Haiphong, Hanoi, took out all their rail yards, and just did them a job.
Right.
They were running out of ammunition because prior to that, you would constantly hear over the bitch box, delegation from Bulgaria would come in solidarity with the Vietnamese people and all the, Hai Dep and Ho Chi. Warm and friendly atmosphere. Everything changed. Now it was frank and serious discussions. Hey, to, because the Russians needed the wheat, the Chinese wanted recognition. The Russians got the wheat, the Chinese got diplomatic relations. And who's in the middle? Their little surrogate. Screw you. Shit stopped. Coming across the border. Armament, supplies, food, whatever.
Didn't know that.
Did that affect how they treated you in terms of, or the other prisoners in terms of food and?
Yeah, things changed big time, especially with the B-52s. Because on the 27th of January of 1973,
Yeah.
all hostilities stopped at midnight.
Hmm.
Now, we had guys in the camp going, the guards got new uniforms, the war's over. Fuck you, no it's not. Just calm down. Remember, they got 2 pair of pants and 2 shirts a year. Maybe this was his year
It might have been there.
to get new clothes.
Yeah.
From our cell block, it had these great big windows
Mm-hmm.
with bars in them, of course. And looking out was a 300-foot self-supporting television tower. I know what a television tower looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That night, at midnight, Hanoi time, the warning lights came on. The war was over.
Oh, in other words, they didn't want airplanes flying into it. It was safe enough to start
Even their
acting
own
like
planes,
civilians.
yeah.
Okay.
So the light came on, the war's over. Now we knew something was going on because the guards, a couple of them just couldn't contain themselves.
Hmm. They told you guys what was up.
Well, not really. But I had said to the guys, well, the war's over. I said they turned the lights on. Ah, fuck you, Ettmueller. Okay. But the next day was their flag. Great big thing, must have been as big as this house, hanging, blowing in the breeze. They took us out and now allowed all the cell blocks to get together. And I looked at the guard and I said, no, your flag's upside down. He said, what do you mean? I said, the star is supposed to be pointing like this.
They hadn't noticed.
They had some poor sucker, I saw him climb all the way up there and turn the flag back over.
And they didn't drop it and turn it around?
No, it was connected to the side. There was no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it.
That's hilarious.
I also told the one guard, I said, you know, they took us all out. They had their Bolex cameras set up and the camp commander there because he wanted film, because they would show us films of the French prisoners at Dien Bien Phu and told that they were going home and all cheering and all this other garbage. And we just sat there. Nobody said anything to anybody. We just sat there and told us that as of the 27th, the war had stopped and that we would be going home within a matter of days. And then he just sat there waiting for everybody to go batshit. And we all just sat there looking like this. And the cameras are sweeping back and forth with their Mopic. Nobody smiled, nobody cheered, nobody said a word. So his day of glory was shot in the ass. He did not get the.
Well, I'm glad his day, he didn't get his day of glory. But I wonder why the guys didn't get excited.
We got excited back in the room.
Ah.
We weren't going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, it's because the camera was present.
Yeah, and plus the fact
Got it.
we constantly saw these propaganda films all the time. I was captured in 17, 18, 19 different places. They would piece together us going up the trail all mangled and shit and turn around and throw, oh, he was captured in Da Nang and he was captured here. And you're sitting there going, and I'd look around and go, hey, there I am.
You escaped so many times and had no memory. Had to be recaptured. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
It was, like I said, there was humorous moments. There was a little bit of levity, but we all went back into ourselves.
That's when you celebrate.
And that's when everybody went batshit. Yeah, you know. And then we found out that what they had done was they'd put a microphone up
In yourself.
to listen to what was going on inside, and more than likely they spiced that into some propaganda shit somewhere else down the line.
Let me ask you some questions about your experience. You had moments of humor, you say. Did you ever think you would get out?
Oh, there was a point where I figured I'd probably die there.
Yeah.
But I figured eventually.
What, many people in that circumstance talk about something that got them through it.
See my sister graduate from high school.
Okay.
And I got home in 73, and she graduated in June of 73.
So that's what
There you
you
go.
kept in mind.
She graduated from Oak Crest in 73, I graduated from Oak Crest in 62, and my younger sister graduated from Oak Crest in 83.
So it was family. What about some of the other prisoners, those other 5 that went through with you? Do you know what they kept in mind that might have helped them through it? You didn't talk about that with each other?
Nope. What got us through is the fact that we used to call a little bit of psychological first aid.
Mhm.
You know, if somebody fell down, you went over and, hey, you know, cheer up. In one particular instance, they made us dig holes inside our cells at Plantation because the shrapnel was coming through the walls. Everybody says, well, this is how ignorant people are. Well, how could shrapnel be coming through the walls when they're shooting at the planes up there? Because it falls back to earth. Oh, yeah, it doesn't stay up there, doesn't float around, it boom and it falls back down. So we ended up with a little pick and had to go through concrete about that thick and ended up digging a hole that was about 6 feet deep. And when the bombing started again, we were to jump in the hole, slide the pallet over the top, and jump down in the hole. Well, Brandy and Dennis, both captured along base special forces, said, fuck it, if we're gonna go, we're gonna go. He just threw his blanket up over his head. He said, I'm going to sleep. Okay. Bill jumped down in the hole, and I jumped down next to him, and we're sitting down there, and I could hear a slight whimper. So I took my arm and I put over him like this, and just grabbed him. I said, it's okay. Settled things down. I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Did anybody that you know of give up?
Not with us, but some of the guys that had come up from Cambodia area. See, I was close to the pipeline being in Hue.
Right.
These guys came from way down south, another couple 100 miles, that there were some guys that would just lay down and say, I'm never going home, and lay down into a fetal position and just die. So there were some that just gave up. Probably the malnutrition, starvation, and it was just too much for them, and they just crashed and burned.
I'm glad you didn't.
It seems as though the unit that you were with, this broadcast group, you like those guys, and you
Except Deaver.
Well, I understand, yeah. You know,
John Anderson I knew in Korea.
okay.
He was the station commander in Korea.
Mhm.
I was the chief engineer for the Busan TV station. Don Guin had been my instructor at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for television.
Right.
So I knew both of them. John Deering came in January, and I didn't know Dennis. Well, most of the Marines that were at the station rotated prior to Ted, were draftees. Believe it or not, the Marines, the Navy, and Air Force did draft people.
Every 10th
Sure.
person I've heard.
And they said the shock that they got when they got off the bus, they thought they were going to an army camp. Got off the bus, and there was all these little yellow footprints. They said, follow the footprints, and guess what? You're now going to become a United States Marine.
That was one of my other reasons for enlisting in the Army. I didn't want to be a Marine.
Like I tell people, my mama didn't raise no fools. No, my father was in the Army. My mother's brothers were in the Army. One was in the Navy, a brother-in-law. He was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed, and he was aboard ship, so on a destroyer. two of my uncles and my dad hit the beach in Normandy at the same time. Initial assault.
Mm-hmm.
My other uncle's with the 8th Air Force out of England. And all my cousins served. And my younger son served, so we did our share.
You did. So you guys got the word on January 27th that the fighting was over.
We got the word, they had to notify us within 3 days. It was 3 days after the lights went on, is when they sat down. And by that time, we knew the war was over.
Okay, so January 30th is when you were informed. And then some selection process took place because all the POWs didn't come back at the same time.
No, I still don't understand that. I think maybe one of the guards got pissed off because they said within a certain period of time you would be released. And I looked at him, I said, if I'm not, I said, I'm gonna kill you and the camp commander. And he had this shocked look on his face, like I actually said that. Oh well, what the hell? What were they gonna do? Beat me some more?
Draft you, send you to Vietnam.
That's my big bitch. People jack with me. I said, what are you gonna do? Send me back to Vietnam? Please, don't throw me the briar patch. But they started taking us to the War Museum. We knew that we were going to be going home prior to the 27th. They had these wooden black slacks, these cumbersome boot shoes, and jacket and a shirt. I guess to make us look like Bulgarians,
I remember the pictures.
to take us around, and we went to the War Museum. And in it, this is not the one that I just saw in Hanoi. This is their whatever it is. And in it, there was a couple of 2,000-pound bombs that had been deactivated. And on one of them, somebody wrote, Ho Chi Minh sucks, Martin Luther King. Yeah, I know. And some of the electronic stuff that they were dropping looked just like jungle foliage. And they would drop it from the air, and these things would go into the ground, and they were transmitters. And
Sensors.
the sensors,
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, they were blowing up elephants and tigers and bears, oh my, you know. McNamara's Wall.
Mm-hmm.
He was a useless piece of shit, too. The F-4 did not have cannons on it. The F-4 was basically a bomber. They got into dogfights over in North Vietnam, and they were getting their asses shot off. And that's when they modified it and put 50 cals on them. That was McNamara's idea.
Right.
We want something that go fly super fast, which it did. It would do Mach 2, but it was primarily the bomb.
So, were you one of the first people to be released in the middle, toward the end?
No, we weren't the first to be released, but we were the first group captured in the South, released in the North.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the 2 Filipino Voice of America technicians, Chuck Willis, who was the chief engineer for Voice of America, the 2 German nurses,
Mm-hmm.
Bernard Deal and Monica Schwinn,
Mm-hmm.
and then us.
You and Goen and Anderson
And yeah,
okay.
and what's his face? We land in the Philippines, and because there was an Army officer on board that had him in time and grade because DiBernardo had been promoted to captain. Was allowed to get off the plane first and make a statement in the Philippines.
Okay.
And it really pissed DiBernardo off.
Let me go back and ask you some questions about the release. The door's unlocked and you walk out, not yet a free man, as it were. And are you in the custody then of the North Vietnamese at that point, or did they transfer
Yeah, until,
custody?
no, we were in custody until we got to the airfield.
And
And that's when our names were called off and we were released individually, signed off, put on a C-141, and out the door we went.
to the Philippines.
Had a picture of me shaking hands with Ferdinand Marcos. I can't find it anymore.
I haven't seen that one, yeah.
And I tell people, I said, yeah, Uncle Ferdinand met me at the airport. Your uncle? I said, yeah, he was president of the Philippines. They're going, really? No nuts, Jesus Christ almighty.
Sign the picture and put it on your wall.
Yeah, well, I don't know where the hell it's at. Also, the
what-
ambassador to the Philippines is also there.
I don't know who that was at that point. What were you thinking when you got on that C-141?
Wasn't thinking much of anything except it's time to get the hell out of Dodge City. We didn't cheer until they told us we were in international waters, and I think they almost lost control of the plane because everybody went back. Goddamn.
What kind of food did you have on the plane? Did they make any special provisions for that?
It wasn't that long of a flight to the Philippines.
Right.
And I don't remember getting anything to eat on the plane, but as soon as we landed, you could basically have anything you wanted, besides steak and eggs.
They took you to a mess hall.
Yeah. The mess hall was open 24/7. You want a beer? Yeah, take a damn beer too. San Miguel,
Yes.
and not the stuff they ship to the States. We're talking about
Real
the real San Miguel. And then drank a beer, just, Jesus Christ. I spent an hour in the shower and used up 4 bars of soap just
Cleaning up.
cleaning up. Whole roll of toilet paper to wipe my ass. Just hey, it was...
You were the cleanest guy in the country.
It was creature comforts, man.
Yeah. So how long did you stay in the Philippines?
3 days.
Okay. Just time to see the doc and
Yeah, I wanted to...
get
and this is
9 good meals.
this is where the psychiatric community comes in that really, really pisses my ass off. I said I needed to have a will, which I didn't have one.
Mm.
I said, I got all this back pay. I said, anything can happen.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's going to, but I think I should have a will.
Okay.
Right away, this guy's suicidal. Watching. What in the fuck is wrong with you people? I mean, I had 5 years back pay coming.
And accumulated leave.
Yeah. And it automatically went into soldier's deposit and paid 10% interest.
Did you have plans for that?
No, I got some money, I'd buy a house or do something, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well, the reason I asked it was because you thought about a will, so you obviously were thinking, hey, this is something I've got that I've never had, and if something happens to me,
then the government takes it.
That's right, who's gonna?
Yeah. I'm thinking, we're gonna fly back. Hell, the goddamn plane could crash for all I know.
Yeah.
I just...
Sure.
Well, that shows a thoughtfulness about the future that many people.
Well, they put a phone call through, and I got a chance to talk to my mother.
Oh, good.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
And I remember her saying, thank God. I said, no, you can thank Nixon and the B-52s. And I tell people that. He said, was that a rock group? Yeah.
Harry, except for the release of the POWs, the B-52 bombing of North Vietnam, that was the biggest story that I covered. Because I was doing news in Saigon at that time.
Well, that was the biggest thrill for us, too.
I'm sure.
Well,
I'm sure.
You know, you mentioned that either D1 or the other place was near the rail yards. So, were you there when that bombing was going on near the rail yards?
Yeah.
So you could actually feel the concussions, I suspect.
Yeah, and the secondaries
Right.
that were there, they hit the POL, they hit ammunition. They had, I think, some of the biggest steam engines that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, humongous steam engines. They were twisted like pretzels.
Right.
Very little collateral damage. Now, they took Bernard Deal to get him to make a statement about bombing hospitals in North Vietnam. They took him to a major hospital in North Vietnam, in Hanoi, and it had been bombed. But inside the courtyard was shell casings from anti-aircraft that they'd been firing, and found out that they had removed everybody from the hospital like a week or so before. So there was nobody in that hospital.
Got it.
But they went so far as they painted red crosses on a lot of buildings because they knew we wouldn't bomb a building with a red cross on it. But no, I wanted to make sure that the family got the money if anything happened to me. We flew to Hawaii, then from Hawaii all the way to Andrews Air Force Base. Andrews Air Force Base flew me to McGuire Air Force Base, which is next to Fort Dix, and they put us in Army helicopters, and we flew from there to Fort Monmouth, which was closest to home. Why they didn't leave us at Fort Dix, I don't have the foggiest idea, but that's what they did.
I'm thinking about that thing with the will, and you'd been close to death for a long time. It wouldn't have surprised me that you would be thinking about the risk of death.
I never thought about it that way.
No?
The other thing too
All right.
is we get back to the States. I sailed under the Golden Gate Bridge. I went by troop ship to Korea. And it was 2 more ships after that. There everybody flew.
So you
Flying
went to-
Tiger Airlines had already crashed into Mount Fuji. They were charter military, and they also had a plane disappear off of Alaska years prior. One of their charter planes taken off from Newark Airport, flying to Fort Jackson, wherever these basic trainees were going, also crashed, and they were all killed. But this was a year previous. The thought occurred to me that, you know, here I've got this money, and if something happens, you know, but so we get back to the States, and I said, you know, I'd like to have a 3-day pass or go on leave. I had all this leave time coming, which they bought because you weren't allowed to have more than umpty days and whatever. But they cut us some slack, whatever. I said, I'd like to see the Golden Gate Bridge. Boy, did that send up some red flags. Holy shit,
He's gonna
everybody's,
jump.
everybody's gonna jump.
And now he wants to go to the Golden Gate Bridge.
I mean, I sailed under it and I flew over. I'd just like to see it personally. I mean, almighty, right away I'm...
Well, if you'd asked to see the Statue of Liberty, what would they have thought? No, it was-
Pervert, and lift up her dress. But I I never thought of it that way. I didn't have any plans to go jump off the friggin' ass bridge. Shit, excuse me.
I think we had a bunch of scared mental health professionals.
The problem was this.
Yeah.
We had a team that was assigned to us when we came back, and they stayed with us for 60 days. And they ran interference for us. They got us our physicals. They got us to where we had to be on time, and we bucked the line with everybody to make sure that everything was taken care of.
Good.
Finance and all that shit. And
Good.
then the Army turned around and said, boom, that's it. You're gone, and turn around and turn us loose to the general population. And I had a bunch of assholes that didn't really give a shit.
So no counseling at all on how to spend the
I had a
money, or-
psychiatrist
Okay.
that was assigned to me, and also to Marty Frank, who was from New Jersey, North Jersey.
And this is after the 60 days?
Yes.
Okay.
We did the MMPI over and over and over again to the point where it was like,
That's cruel
awful.
and unusual
That-
punishment.
That's really bad.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
what was so bad
We should
was
do that to our POW.
they sent these to Washington, D.C. to Walter Reed to run through the computer.
Yeah.
They dropped my box and just picked shit up and shoved it in and sent it to Walter Reed anyway. This is from the
Wait a minute,
psychiatrist.
You're using the old card form where
Yeah,
you had to shuffle?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Do you know that one?
I've never seen that one.
Well,
Yeah, it was either yes or no according to you.
Yes or no, or I don't know.
And there was 500 and umpty cards.
150
And do you like women's shoes? Not offhand. Have you ever worn women's shoes?
Only red one.
The only, we called it a liar's test, because the way the questions were worded, if you answered yes to this, they would come back later on with the same friggin' ass question, worded differently,
Yeah.
and if you said no, aha, gotcha.
Right,
so comes
that-
back, so he
that's
comes
not the
back and
whole
he
test,
says,
but it's part
he
of
said, your MMPI was bizarre.
I bet it probably came back random.
No, it was off the goddamn chart.
Yeah.
So then he turns around, this is what fucked my career. Gave me initial diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenic, manic depressive, homicidal with suicidal tendencies. And that's what went into my medical records.
Well, he left out some things, thank God.
Like what?
Well, I won't say, but there are some things he left
Like
out.
Survivor.
He accused Marty of being a latent homosexual.
Well, that's what I was gonna
I
say.
thought Marty. Oh, I thought Marty was going to rip his throat out. Jesus Christ Almighty, fucking.
Well, the other one they left out was psychopathic deviant. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good. But I carried that diagnosis for 4 years. They gave us 5 years physicals.
Wait a minute, you said they gave you the MMK a bunch of times, so,
It didn't make any difference.
okay.
He put that down, and that stayed in my medical records.
All right.
That's what I was. So I run into a psychologist, you're going to love this, at Fort Sam. Captain Larry Galp. Didn't think about it. Larry Galp. Okay. And I was ready to do battle. Walked in, sat down, and he said, you don't remember me, do you? I looked, I said, oh shit, we graduated high school together.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I've been looking over your records. He said, I don't believe this.
Yeah, you're not a paranoid schizophrenic.
He said, I don't believe this. He said,
Yeah, it's bullshit.
this is not the Harry that I knew in high school.
Right.
But it
Did he
stayed
Did he get
until I got out. And then the following year was the last year for the physicals. And I go in, sit down, and they said, you know, we made a big mistake. Really? All this other stuff doesn't. You have a mixed character disorder. Oh, so you don't want to pay compensation, so it's something I had to begin with, and the Army didn't do it.
There was that BS going on too.
That's what they did to guys coming back from Vietnam, mixed character disorder, discharge. Now, the hostages from Iran, they got smart. They kept them all together. They kept them up in some mountain resort somewhere in New York or somewhere, and they stayed there for quite a while and wound down, and then they went back with their families. With us, they did the same thing in reverse. We came back, they sent us to all these different hospitals. And the only solace that we had was the fact that we could pick up the phone and talk to each other. My phone bills used to run $300-400 a month.